to this computer. Okay, it's review time. How did last week go? Basically, what we were supposed to be doing was we were trying to record pretty much everything that we were consuming, so that we could potentially figure out kind of an average daily calorie intake and maybe potentially compare it to either a BMR / activity level from BodySpec or from MyFitnessPal or from whatever fitness tracking thing you've got, whatever. So yeah, how'd it go? Tracking.
Perhaps. Go ahead. Sorry, Nami.
I have some questions about the MyFitnessPal app.
Let's do it.
So it doesn't seem to add up like your 800 grams of fruits and veggies. Like there doesn't seem to be a way to customize it so that you could see that at the end of the day or the end of the week. I was wondering if you had any suggestions about that. And
keep going.
what was that?
Okay. Yeah, there isn't like a I think someone may have mentioned it actually in the WhatsApp chat. There isn't a way to specifically track how much by volume and weight, or by volume, fruits and vegetables in MyFitnessPal. The indirect measurements that they're actually really after is the grams of fiber. I mean, it's more than just that, but like one of them could potentially be like how much fiber you're consuming on a regular basis. It would maybe like if you have 7 days of hitting 800 grams of fruits and vegetables, or close to it, and then taking the average of the fiber content of those days, maybe that would be kind of an interesting indirect but kind of sort of workaround, so that you can kind of track that. But you're right, there isn't one. And I actually don't know if there's even EC Sinkowski's thing. I don't think she has an app, but I'm not sure.
And then and maybe you're going to touch on this week and I'm getting ahead, but like enter all this data into this app and then what?
Yeah, so basically last week and this week are supposed to be kind of done in conjunction with each other. Last week was just meant to bring awareness to and show people what they're consuming, even if it's not. Some people are gonna they're not gonna probably how to say this. When people start recording everything that they eat, they're, even if they don't realize it, but more often than not, people even realize it, that there's a tendency to change the way that the people are eating already. So there's number one. So there's slight bias. However, across the entire week, you're still going to get a pretty good average number of calories. And whether or not it's working for you, you can go into MyFitnessPal and adjust the absolute number of calories that you're consuming based on that average that you've obtained, and or you can leave what they prescribe based on the level of activity that you've kind of set for yourself. And then you can use this week to guide where those calories are coming from. So we're going to talk about that this week, the macro ranges or profile. And then our goal is to kind of hit those targets.
And would you recommend like looking at like your average at the end of the week? Because this app says at the end of the day you log your nutrition and they're like, oh, you're going to gain 10 pounds, or oh, you're going to lose 5 pounds based upon what you've eaten for one day, which seems to go against like this consistency idea, not to worry about like a particular day.
Your goal should be to, I don't see your numbers per se, or exactly, but if you are regularly consuming more than your suggested calories per day, you will very likely be gaining weight. If you're regularly consuming less than that number or right at that number, depending on what you've set as your goal, whether it's to gain, lose, or maintain, depending on how much you set to gain or lose, you will do that. So like that's kind of where you want to hang out, right around that number that it's giving you. But yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have some days, especially the weekends, that you might tend to overconsume, and then you might have to make up for that during the week, or vice versa. You might have had a weird day and you're gone all day and you didn't have a chance to eat anything. I don't know. But over time, your goal is to stay right around the suggested calories, plus or minus based on your goal.
So you would want to like reevaluate.
Foster.
Tommy, we can't hear you if you're talking.
We can't hear you if you're talking.
Oh, my internet's unstable. I'm going to move.
She's on the move. She's on the move.
At the end of the day, if you complete your diary, it will tell you if you continue to eat this way, you will weigh blah, blah at the end of a month or something. I don't know, something like that. And I don't know if that's just taking into account what you ate that day or what you've eaten that week, or what it really is counting.
I've never seen what you're talking about, I don't think.
When you log all your food, and at the end, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a thing that says complete diary or something like that. If you push complete diary, it will say, if you continue to eat this way, you will weigh this amount. After, I don't know if it's after a week, after a month, I'm not sure what it says because I ignore it, but it does tell you that, and I'm not sure what it's basing that on, if it's basing it on one day or that whole week.
So underneath that, it says your projected weight loss is an estimate based on your total net calories for today. So if you ate exactly what you did today, that would be the expectation. And they get that from 1 pound of fat is approximately equal to 3,500 calories, approximately. So if I wanted to lose 1 pound of, and let's just keep the math as simple as possible, because you may not lose all of the weight from fat. You might lose water, you might lose protein, you might lose, who knows, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's just pretend like it's as simple as 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat. I'm only trying to lose fat. Spread across 7 days, that's 500 calorie deficit per day. That's 1 pound a week. So when you set your goal on MyFitnessPal, right above the activity level, that's basically where that number is coming from. So lose half a pound a week would be a 250 calorie per day deficit. Maintain would be 0 calorie deficit. It would basically be the average number of calories that you kind of found this past week. If you're trying to gain weight, it would be the opposite. You'd have to do a 250 calorie per day surplus to approximately gain about half a pound a week. And then I think to answer Nami's question, I don't know if this is exactly what she was asking, how often should you be reevaluating this? I think weekly is probably, looking at this log, probably weekly, especially if you're really trying to make change. I personally, I actually have never, I don't think ever completed diary. Actually, on the app,
I
I didn't even know that was a thing.
there. I didn't know that
I
was there.
didn't either. So I kind of just leave it, and I'm like, oh, I kind of have a rough idea of where I'm at, but I'm not really trying to be super meticulous with where my nutrition is at right now.
Well, it says if every day were like today, in 5 weeks, you'd weigh 150 pounds. So that's what it's saying. It's saying, I think it's taking today, and if you ate like that for the next 5 weeks, you would then weigh 150 pounds or 160 pounds or whatever it is. So it's looking ahead 5 weeks.
Did that answer your question, Nami, or no?
That did. Thanks.
Okay. I would probably do it weekly if that was kind of the question you were asking. ¿Qué más? No more? Okay, so let's look at this week's then. So nutrition handbook. I kind of gave kind of a quick overview rundown on what the different macronutrients are. Like we were talking about last week, none of them are inherently bad on their own. You need protein and fat. You should have carbohydrates, protein, fat, all of them. Nothing is bad or better or worse than any other macronutrient, as long as you're doing them in the relatively appropriate ratios and absolute quantities. So kind of just a little rundown on what each of those macronutrients do in the body. I didn't bother getting into the macronutrients because there's an endless list of them. And if you're, for the most part, if you're eating a very well balanced whole food diet, nutrient dense, with trying to vary your sources of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, you're probably getting pretty darn close to your micronutrient requirements and goals without trying that hard, without having to worry about supplementing. Long term, the micronutrient kind of is that's like a blood work assessment. If there's like check your micronutrients at your annual physical kind of a thing, and or if there's like a suspicion, there's a reason to suspect you're deficient in iron or vitamin K or vitamin D or things like that. So that's a little bit beyond what we're going to focus on here today. We are going to focus on just the macros, and then most of you, I think I've seen, the only person who's I think going to try and use MyFitnessPal that I didn't get to see them set it up was Becca's. I think everyone else sent theirs to me.
Hi.
Hi. Becca, did you have a chance to look at watch last week's video?
I think so. I think I watched the YouTube.
Do you have any intention of on using MyFitnessPal for any
Yeah,
amount of
I've
time?
been using it for macros counting,
Cool.
mostly for protein purposes.
Great. Cool. And did I feel like you actually, now that I think about it, you had me look at yours.
I think you
a
set up a
while ago.
long time ago. I can text you like a screenshot of like a day that I did like last week that I tracked.
Yeah, send me a picture of that, and then send me a picture of the goals page, so I can kind of see
cool.
what you're working with.
Will do.
Yeah, and so like the little worksheet for this week is the macro breakdown. There's intentionally not a calories consumed section, partly because if you are using MyFitnessPal, you're going to have to use MyFitnessPal to get these numbers. So whether you're doing it based on their estimation of your activity and needs, or your average. So basically, if you want to use your average calories from last week, you can put that into your goals. When you click the calorie, carbs, and protein fat goals, you can put that average in there. And that will be, it will be using that to determine the percentage, the relative percentages of each of those macronutrients. But if you want to use a worksheet, you can put it here and kind of get a sense of where you're at. I tend to fall a lot higher. Protein is pretty stable for me. And then I actually have a relatively low carb, higher fat diet than it would automatically default to. In fact, it defaults to 50, 30, 20, I believe. But Zone and Paleo and all these other ones, a lot of nutrition coaches, they tend to start people at 40, 30, 30. And I actually even have you guys start at 35, 35, 30. And we're just kind of figuring out. So like some people have never done this before, and that's a really good place to start. And other people feel like they need, like if we were training twice a day, I'd say we need our carbohydrates higher, right? Because you need to be able to fuel your exercise and your training goals versus someone who's not really looking for maximum performance enhancement and fueling. They're just looking for as consistently healthy a daily routine as they possibly can get. They don't need as many carbohydrates because they're not as active, things like that. That's the person who falls into the 40, 30, 30, or even 35, 35, 30 camp. So the beginner RX today or this week would be make sure you're hitting your relative and absolute protein goals. So still trying to hit your protein goal total grams per pound per body weight. And then trying to get your calories to reflect that in terms of the relative percentage. Intermediate would be that for carbohydrates. RX would be all three: carbohydrate, fat, and protein. And then the advanced, I changed this to adjusting daily calories based on that average because not everyone did it. So I didn't know where to start with that. So,
What
yeah.
does that mean? I don't understand what adjust daily calories based on average means. Like how frequently are you adjusting?
So one time now. And you're basically doing it based on those calories. So if you looked at your average calories across this past week, instead of using MyFitnessPal's default goal, you would plug in your goal and use that number.
Oh, okay. Which I've already done, right? Meaning,
Well, I don't think you have. Like, have you intentionally changed the number of calories?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like there was a deficit or I could be maintenance, and I don't like the deficit and I don't like the maintenance. So I made up my own. Is that what you mean? It was this balance between the two. Deficit was too deep and maintenance, I don't want to be, I'm like halfway between the two. Is that what you mean?
I don't know if I think so, but let me make sure this is correct. So when you go to goals on MyFitnessPal, the little three dots, you go to
Yes.
nutrition goals, calories, carbs, protein, and fat goals. You clicked calories and entered a number that was not already preset for you. You changed the total
Yeah.
calories you're consuming on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Got it. Most people don't ever touch that. That's why that's like the RX. or
Because
the
I don't
advanced.
like the number they gave me.
Jenny, have you ever changed that number?
Unless you change that number for me, no.
Yeah, so most people go based on the weekly goal to lose, maintain, or gain, and the activity level, and that gives the rough estimate of the total calories. No one I didn't know that anyone had ever changed that, so that was why it was the advanced.
But then I still set the percentages that I want too, which aren't
Right, and those
percentages that anybody.
percentages are percentages of that calorie goal that you set
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's not materially different than the preset. I just didn't like the preset number, so I bumped it up a little bit.
Cool.
Okay.
This week should be pretty. It's just practice for a lot of people, and the people that are already doing it, you're just continuing to do it because a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people have never done this before. That's why I wanted to split it into 2 weeks. So, any questions about this upcoming week, like how you're trying to get after this and record things and anything like that? Really? Okay, well, I've got 4 minutes. We can talk about whatever you want. I've got at least 4 minutes.
What do we do after this week?
Did I say it was only 7 weeks?
I don't even know how many weeks we've been doing this.
This is the 7th week. So next week, there's a quick little chat on supplements, even though we've already talked about it, but we're going to add the creatine. And then it's timing. So it's nutrient timing. And then that's the 8th week.
But nutrient timing is not fasting. Nutrient timing is moving your macronutrients around based on the time that you exercise.
Correct. And it's like the last 1 to 3%. If you've done everything up to this level, you're like on it. It really doesn't move the needle for most people if the stuff below it that we've already done isn't kind of accounted for by this point. So
I have a question, and this is something I saw, and I should have sent it to you when I saw it, but basically it was just a post, and it said it didn't really matter your daily calorie intake. It was more looked like a weekly calorie intake, and as long as that was generally in a deficit, you would lose weight. What is your take on this? Not that I'm gonna do it, but sometimes the question why no, hold on.
sometimes Abby
Yeah,
tries to
that-
force feed you food and you go over your daily calories.
No, but like on days that I don't work out, I'm not so hungry. And like if we have cardio days, I'm starving all day. I'm like, I can't get enough. Is that okay to eat?
Yes.
I generally eat the
And
same
that-
every single day because that's what my Fitness Pal sets to it. But this is my
Yeah,
question.
so that's kind of a piggyback on Nami's question. Like she's kind of looking more or asking about more of a longer. You're not going to gain. I mean, it would be very, very difficult for you to gain a pound, like truly add a pound of fat to your body in a single day. Versus and conversely the opposite, right? You would have to be. It would be very difficult to lose that much because you have to essentially, if all said and done, like everything's equal and as straightforward as it possibly could be, just plus minus energy balance math, right? That's 3,500 calories. So realistically, it is over a week or over a month or over a quarter kind of a thing. Like realistically, that's how we should be looking at this. MyFitnessPal is just a daily snapshot, and you realistically should be looking at trends, not necessarily just those single data points. You're looking at the trend. Melissa is actually really good at eating for her activity level. And I actually didn't even think to include that, but that's a really good question. I didn't think to include it in this because a lot of people are like, the people who I kind of envisioned when I was starting to create this were people who were coming, who were like brand new member to the gym. I want to be able to hand you this handbook and work through it with you. And those people are not, it's already probably really complicated for them. So I wanted to keep it as simple and consistent as possible. But realistically, like Stephanie's already kind of talked about also, the longer you do this, the more you realize you hone in on what you need, and you can kind of move away from, or maybe not move away from, but use use the daily snapshot, use that as information as one piece of the total like nutrition puzzle and decision making process, and then you can kind of, because days that you don't move at all, like you need to repair, right? The days that you're off, theoretically, you're still trying to repair and recover from the stress and the training and whatever, right? You're still active, so you still need calories, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, like that. But you don't need as much. And on days that you do train, you should probably be consuming more because you need to replenish your glycogen stores. You need to make sure that there's plenty of protein to offset the damage that you did in the training session, depending on what type of training session it was. So yes, I like that, but that's a little higher level thinking. That's all.
When we used to do Weight Watchers religiously, we used to call it temporary weight gain or temporary weight loss, because you might go off the rails and have a hot fudge sundae and a bunch of cookies. The next day you weigh more, but that was one day you went crazy and then it's over. And then that weight doesn't stay. It normalizes back out. Conversely, like when you are very dehydrated, you're going to lose weight. You're going to, weigh 2 pounds less. But then as soon as you normalize yourself and get back hydrated, then you'll go back to your normal weight. So we just called it temporary, because it isn't, gaining weight and losing weight is over a long period of time. It's not one day.
Well, do you mean fat and muscle? Because your weight is an absolute number measurement every day, but whether it's composed of fat or mass doesn't change on a daily basis.
No, it doesn't.
Like you drink a gallon of water and then you've just way more, but you just filled yourself with water.
Yeah, and then you pee it out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a simple, that's the easiest way to think about it. Gaining muscle is very difficult, extremely difficult, very, very slow. No matter how disciplined and on top of your stuff you are, it takes a long time and it's super duper slow. Losing fat is faster, but still slower than the weight change that you could potentially experience just based on hydration status, right? A gallon of water weighs around 8 pounds. If you drink a gallon of water and didn't pee it, you added 8 pounds to your body. It's not magic, right? It goes into this bag that is your body to simplify it for your brain, right? To help you picture it. So yeah, we're looking for trends. That's why I don't like telling people to look. It's okay to weigh yourself every week, but realistically, monthly at the very smallest time frame, looking for trends. And even then, you could be potentially like weighing yourself at the end of a day, or like the middle of the day when it's like cool outside and you haven't been outside, you've been eating and drinking and hydrating, and then at the end of the day after a workout or something, you've dehydrated yourself and you're running low on fumes, and you could fluctuate 5 pounds, plus or minus. So
it's really fun to weigh yourself all day to see what your activity just for fun, not because it matters, but more like when you wake up, after you work out, when you eat again, right before you go to bed.
When you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So whenever you're going to be the most consistent with weighing yourself, which for most people, it should be right when you wake up. It depends on the way you wake up, quote unquote, wake up, your routine when you wake up. But like whatever it is, make it as consistent as possible. So that way it's an actual relatively comparable measurement.
Are there certain workouts that make you retain water? Or, obviously you work out in your sweat and then you lose weight, but are there certain like heavy lifting sessions or long lifting sessions that actually make you weigh more temporarily because you're retaining water? I feel like I've had that happen, but it might just be me.
Let me think about this.
You drank extra water.
Because your muscle repairing itself, like that it's.
Yeah, she's kind of more dealing with like the inflammation post workout. Like I mean,
Oh,
to me, it makes sense if you damage your muscle to the point where like the inflammation is pretty serious. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like a few years ago, we did Lynn or something. It was like the running and max effort pull up in 20 minutes. So as many pulls as you can do on the is your score. And I had like pseudo arm
Pepto.
dough.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. And my arms were super duper swollen. Your body's holding on to that water that it would normally be able to move around. Now, granted, that might have been somewhere else and it just got stuck in my arms trying to deal with the damage I did. But I would imagine, yes. Yeah, I would
I'm not
imagine
talking
if
like
you're
10 pounds, but I'm saying I'm
no,
psycho
a few
enough
pounds.
to
Yeah.
monitor, like, oh, after a workout, did I lose weight? Did I gain weight? And then sometimes it trends, it's focused around like a heavy lifting session. I end up for like a few days being heavier and then it goes away.
Yeah,
interesting.
that would be my not educated because it's not I have nothing to back this up, but trying to think through it, that's why I think that phenomenon would happen. And conversely, like if you did a heavy cardio session, you'd lose hydration and you'd get rid of a bunch of fluid, so you'd be lighter than you maybe would be from a normal workout. So
Mhm.
that makes sense. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
So come tomorrow to lose some weight.
What's
Or
tomorrow's
don't.
workout?
Are you gonna switch it so it's not that workout?
I don't remember what it was.
It's terrible.
It's biking forever,
It's literally biking all day,
all day, every day.
like 7 intervals of 20 calories or something.
No,
That's
it's awesome. Why don't you want to
The
do that?
Thursday workout. That's it.
There's
And there's
nothing
also
else.
some GHD stuff.
Was there anything after that? Because that doesn't seem long enough.
It's
There's-
long enough.
There's
It's
a
like 30
GHD
minutes of cardio.
It's long enough. It's just a lot monotonous.
It's 14 minutes.
No, it's 20 calories, Sandra. For women or 20 or 25
Oh,
calories.
it's not just, oh no.
Oh.
I kept thinking it was go for a minute, rest for a
No,
minute.
no, that would be better.
No.
Well, that's
That
what
would
I'm
be worse.
changing the
At
workout.
least you have a finish line.
I can't do 20 calories. I mean, I can, but I'll be there for an hour.
You just don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It was either I don't think so. Chris looked at it earlier today, so I don't know if she's going to change it. That's what I had set it up to be. Originally, it was going to be 4 rounds of 800 runs, 75 double unders. Would you
I'd
rather
rather
do
do that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
And I'll just ride the bike instead. Doesn't matter. Just
Yeah, you'll end up doing the same number of bike calories anyway. The same workout.
don't like to do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and every once in a while you need to, because it's good for you.
Fine.
Fine. Steph
All right,
laughed.
anything else? Yeah, she's like, I'm out.
No, my camera, I don't know. On my end, my camera is freaking out. It can tell that I don't like
Well,
cardio. I'm having an
you're
allergic reaction.
Yeah, there's no more Steph.
All right, I guess then if that's it, don't forget, Bring a Friend Week next week, or 2 weeks from now, Push Press Trial Weeks next week, Hybrid AF if you didn't download it yet, and then on the whiteboard I put the next What is Fitness article up.
What's a
I'm-
push press? Oh,
Definition.
push press. Why do they call it push press? That's an exercise. That's not an app.
Now it's our app and an exercise.
And
It's very on brand.
is our history going to be converted from Beyond the Whiteboard to whatever that's
You
called?
stay on Beyond the Whiteboard.
Oh, we don't
We're
get rid
not
of that.
using, no, we're not using Push Press
Oh.
for the workout tracking. Beyond the Whiteboard is the best there is for that.
It's just
Okay.
Instead of Zen Planner, like we can get rid of Zen Planner after the end
So-
of the month. Well,
Correct.
Okay, I gotta pare down some of these apps I have.
I'm really curious who's gonna need to open the door tomorrow morning at 5-ish. It's not
Steph,
gonna be.
it's
Hmm.
Will said to use the code, the regular code.
There's no keypad.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no keypad.
wait, you told me. I just asked this question yesterday.
The keypad is gone.
Oh, so we have to use the
Yes,
app.
Jenny. We will wait for someone else to do it.
No, because I asked Will yesterday and you said just use the code. But
Oh,
I
he's on-
thought, okay,
I was already in the position where I was the one having to open the door on Saturday, so I know.
oh, okay, well, I'll download the app. I was avoiding that.
I did it, and I was gonna try to use it, but you can't test it unless the door is locked.
Not that I'm ever the first one there.
Correct.
That's what I said, Jenny. And then I was.
Even though I got there at like 6 a.m. on Saturday, like 5:55 or something crazy.
I don't
All
know,
right.
man. All right. Bye, guys. Have a
Bye
nice-
bye.
Bye.
Becca, send me that photo.